Hello crafters, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Altea. Today I will show you how to corner crochet this cute avocado pillow. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel down below. So without further ado, let's get cooking. C2C, meaning corner to corner, is basically squares worked up from one corner to another to make a larger square. One graph box represents one square. The graph is marked by numbers to keep account which row you are working on. You can mark the squares worked by drawing a line or simply putting an X on your graph accordingly. C2C is my favorite technique to work with, as you can create any design you want with as much detail you need. For this project, I had a detailed design to fit on a pillow. Previous C2C tutorials were worked having a chain 6 and 3 double crochet squares, but today you will see a mini version which will be worked by 4 chains and 2 half double crochets. To make the square, I will create a slip knot, yarn over, and chain 4. Work a half double crochet into the second chain from the bottom. By yarning over, go through the loop, yarn over and pull through all the loops. Yarn over and make another half double crochet in the next chain. This is your first square on row 1. To go to row 2, chain 4 and make 2 half double crochets as we just did. Now we need to turn the first square, the tail facing you. Slip stitch into the chain space. Chain 2 and 2 half double crochets into that same space. You have now completed your second row. Moving on to the third row, we will still be chaining 4 and 2 half double crochets. Turn and slip stitch into the chain space. Chain 2 and 2 half double crochets into the same space. Once you worked your row, mark the front of your pillow with a stitch marker or maybe a piece of yarn to better track also the direction of your working row. Slip stitch into the next chain space, chain 2 and 2 half double crochets into that same space. And row 3 is now completed. Continue working your way up according to the graph pattern. We will be using this method throughout, so get comfortable with it, and when you feel ready, you can start working on your pillow. For my pillow, I required wool, which I will create smaller bobbins to work with to avoid having multiple balls of yarn. A ruler and a pencil to mark my progress, a yarn needle, a 3mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, 3 2cm buttons, and a pillow filling. My pillow measured 44 cm square. Once you worked your way up the white, it's time to join the colors. To join a new color, you would simply go through the next stitch space to make a slip stitch, but this time yarn over with the new color. Pull through, bring the tail end in front of your work and chain 2. Now, when working our half double crochets, we will keep the tail end in between our work to hide it, or you can simply leave it out and weave it in using a yarn needle later on. To avoid having a number of tails waiting for me, I prefer hiding them as I go along. We need a number of colored yarn. To avoid having to create more bobbins of the same color, you can carry the yarn forward in between your work. For example, in this case, I have to work just 1 square in green after working 3 white squares. I will grab my yarn and place it in the middle as I did to the yarn end to hide it. Make sure that I pass through the loop below the colored yarn. Keep building my white squares until I require to change the color again. Then just switch the green to the white yarn and work my square. Pulling the yarn tight further together so the squares will have a cleaner look. I will now share with you a small trick when working on your right side marked with a stitch marker to avoid having that tiny color change appearance when changing color in your slip stitch. Pass the hook from behind rather than the front. Grab your yarn and chain as usual. This will give you a perfect green square. Pull the yarn tight. Once you reach the corner, meaning you reach the 45th row in this case, it is time to start decreasing. So now we won't chain 4, but instead we will slip stitch into the next 2 spaces. Then I will chain 2 and 2 half double crochets into that same space. Start working on your next row and work your way down to the next decrease. Slip stitch into the last square, you will turn your work and then slip stitch into the next 2 loops and continue working your normal squares. Keep decreasing as you go along in this way and you will start to see your square closing up. Finally, to close off the square completely, I will work my squares until the last box. Once my last box is worked, I will turn my work once again and slip stitch into it to create a perfect square. Cut the yarn and weave in the ends. To create the back of the pillow, we need two panels which will overlap each other by a few centimeters. The first panel will be 13 boxes high, which we will then work some buttonholes into, and the large panel will be 36 boxes high. To create a rectangle shape, we will start off as we did previously. Once you reach your first corner, you will slip stitch and do a decrease. Work your way down the row, and on the other end, you will keep increasing your work. Work your way down the row. Other end, you will keep increasing by working 4 chains once you reach the end. Keep this up until you would have worked the 45 boxes at the bottom. Then start decreasing on both ends to close it up. Once the two panels are worked, we will move on to making our final touches before sewing all the 3 panels together. Weave in the tails you might have missed carrying forward and cut any excess yarn. We will chain 1, single crochet all the way through on one side of our large panel to have a straight look, as this would be at the mouth of our pillow opening. Cut the yarn and weave in the end. Next, the small panel, we will chain 1 and single crochet about 6 to 1 chains. Turn, and for our second line we will single crochet in each stitch we just worked. Turn, and for the third line we will chain 1 and single crochet into the next 13 spaces. Chain 3, skip 3 chains, single crochet in the fourth to join, and repeat this twice more to have 3 buttonholes. For our fourth line, we will single crochet in each space once again until we get to the buttonholes. We will single crochet 3 times into the buttonholes instead of working into the chains. And for our final line, we will just single crochet in each all the way through. In order to join the panels, place the right side of the avocados facing you. Place the small panel on top of it, buttonholes facing downwards. Place the larger panel on top, overlapping the smaller panel a little bit in order to sew in our buttons. Pin down everything in order to sew in the edges together. Grab your yarn needle and white yarn and sew the panels together. I use, I believe, a mattress stitch method, but go ahead and do what's best for you. Maybe you'd like to single crochet all around, or maybe use a sewing machine. Once all panels are sewed in place, go ahead and turn it inside out. We will now determine where our buttons should go and sew these also in place. And you're done! Your avocado pillow is ready to cuddle. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. This will hugely support and motivate me to create more videos for you. Thanks for watching. Bye guys!